things we don't stop, many things we don't lost. It will be like highway.
השר, על מה כל החגיגה?
מוות למחבלים, עבר היום חוק מוות למחבלים, היסטוריה. בעזרת השם בקרוב, אחד להוציא להורג, כל אלה שטבחו ורצחו ושרפו, לחיים, לחיי עם ישראל.
So ladies and gentlemen, if you did not know, you know, it's really telling how a state can be perceived as being fascist, and how apartheid, no matter how much they try to hide it, always shows its ugly head. Yesterday, March 30th, was the example of how Israel is an apartheid state conducting genocide against the Palestinians and now the Lebanese, and it will be Iranians too if they get their way. Why? Because Israel passed a bill, out of all the atrocities that they have already done, they passed a bill for capital murder as a definite punishment for Palestinian people if they commit terrorism. But you see, everything's an act of terrorism to them. This is the first time one ethnic group under law is given capital murder indefinitely since Nazi Germany. This is the first country in the modern era. Isn't that ironic? And before that, ladies and gentlemen, it was colonial states that had slavery. Interesting, right? Very interesting, very telling, the character of Israel. Very telling. We're going to get to that in another moment. My name is Jamar Jabari, and I am here for another episode of Jabari Block Media. Please like, share, and subscribe. Happy Friday. It is actually the anniversary, 6th anniversary of me and my partner. We're going to be celebrating. I have a guest, Abby Shock, who will be on very soon. I want to talk about a few things before my great guest comes. Now, we have a war going on in Iran, which, on all accounts, I told you I don't believe that the United States is ran by anybody, which is absolutely true because we are the largest empire in the world. Largest empire in the world isn't ran by anybody. But we wanted this war for the oil. You know what I mean? Donald Trump was a part for almost 40 years, voicing this opinion. We already went to war with Iran before. Don't forget that plane flight that was destroyed by us, that commercial flight. Now here we are, getting ready to prep for invasion with less than 10,000 people in a war that we're already losing. Why are we losing? Because it's ruining the economy. It's freaking out the allies. You know, there's a lot we're going to get into that I'm going to share. Israel would not be joining that conflict that they started with the ground invasion. So here's another example of how much Israel wants to be more focused, causing all this chaos. They want to occupy southern Lebanon like they did before in the 80s. It was kicked out in 2003 by Hezbollah, which is why Hezbollah exists. They want to genocide the Palestinians in Gaza and kick out the Palestinians in the West Bank. And if they can't kick them out, they can arrest them. When they arrest them, what happens? They can kill them once that bill is passed in the next 30 days. You know, all this. But they know they do not have the might and force to invade Iran. That's why they only want to do air support. Cowards. You start all this, you can't even finish it. This is why they needed America to be a part of this. But what they don't know is that all of y'all, American, everybody, y'all miscalculated. And Iran is here to stay. Let's go. Let's go. First slide. I want to not slide, but first article I want to get into real quick. All right, so here we have Europe, which is a lot of NATO allies. So the Rutgers, they want to pushback military claims, military operations that's concerned over. They're look when you read into it. Here you go. France, Italy, Spain deny U.S. military support or airspace for Iran operation. NATO allies are starting to, because it's not all of them, but majority, surely but surely, even in the UK, which is crazy, NATO allies are starting to ban us from using their airspace to conduct the war. There it is, right on the records, right there. They are not trying to get involved. This is not surprising, because what happened last week when Iraq joined the war? Iraq had NATO allies in their country, and they were supposed to while they were there, because they've been there for years, they were supposed to start helping out. But guess what? They left. It looks like let me see if this next article is going to let me pop it up. Thank God. And look at this. So NATO, they're starting to ban us from their airspaces. Italy just announced as well too. They're saying, guys, UK, France, Spain was the first. But it looks like Spain is making some noise with their grievance, which is very correct. How are you supposed to conduct this war with what you're doing? Israel doesn't want to get into ground invasion. The Strait of Hormuz is blocked. What's going on? What's going on? Where's the reality check? The Strait of Hormuz is blocked. You know what I mean? And it's blocked. Kuwait had an oil tanker that got blown up, and we're still trying to figure out why that happened. Maybe they didn't pay that $2 million fee that you had to pay if you want to get through the Strait of Hormuz. This ain't a game. Reality is here, people. Poland, right here, they're not even sending missiles. They denied. Look at this. They denied. Poland Missile Defense dismissed claim that the U.S. administration was pressing Warsaw to move one of its 2 Patriot missile batteries to the Middle East after the Rescopalate Daily reported. Washington had, it's another journal column for people somewhere from Poland. Washington has raised the idea in unofficial talk. So look, they're running out of missiles. You know what I mean? They're talking about Iran running out of missiles. They're running out of equipment to conduct this war. I find that absolutely astonishing. And then there's the situation of, excuse me, I don't have a producer, but I have to make sure I produce myself. And then guys, there's the situation of the issue that, you got Trump freaking out on Truth Social. I haven't had a chance to get those tweets out, but definitely search it for yourself. He's over here saying, "Oh no, what the fuck, NATO?" Basically, he's been complaining for all week. First, he's like, "Oh, we don't need the Strait of Hormuz." When you've been complaining that you needed the Strait of Hormuz for the last 3 weeks, my brother. I feel bad saying brother because You ain't no brother of mine. You sit here and you say all this nonsense and you keep backpedaling. You need to straight Hamas open. Like it don't need straight Hamas open. Straight Hamas would have stayed open if you never attacked them. Just understand. You go in with whatever intelligence you have, with you and Israel compiling your little intelligence together. Iran is, I guess, not putting in that much work. Iran's, I guess, is not that much scary. So we just gonna go up in there and topple Iran. To kill the Ayatollah. What before you kill the Ayatollah, you kill 170 kids at a school. And so far, this past week, when we were what? Week 5? You are still bombing schools. Well, matter of fact, you are bombing universities too as well. And like, you're not getting any gains. They still bombing shit out of Israel. Matter of fact, not only they're bombing shit out of Israel, Iraq is involved, Yemen is involved, Hezbollah's back, Ansar from Yemen is back. Ansar Allah. They are bombing the crap out of Israel. So Israel don't even have it's astonished to me after all the stuff they're dealing with right now that they still got time to crack heads open and displace over 1 million people in Lebanon. That's where the majority of their soldiers at, invading another country, trying to reoccupy another country that they lost in 2000. Like, this is what you reopened. The focus was on Gaza. Now, all these other countries are coming in. All these other countries are coming in to whoop that ass. And look at this. Look at this. So you hear your response from Europe, and you know it's not even worth bringing up the response from the Gulf states, because the only the only country that wants to smoke from Gulf states, which is kind of funny as hell because they don't even have over 100,000 soldiers, is the UAE. They only want to talk shit. They want to get involved. All right, go ahead. You know, they destroy your desalination plants where you're able to feed your people, whatever. You know, boom, you're done. Not even just the bomb, because they're probably in the UAE quicker than that. UAE's a small country, small. They ain't gonna do nothing. They probably gonna try, but they ain't gonna do nothing. All the other Gulf states, the bigger Gulf states, don't want to be involved. Qatar is a small state, but Qatar got more sense than UAE. All these Gulf states are fabricated colonies, basically, ran by their kings, their monarchs. You know what I'm saying? All these Gulf states don't have the manpower to join. And they have a lot to lose because their people is not even backing this. You know what I mean? Their people were cheering on when she got bombed in their country. Why? Because they are under a repressive regime. And but the Europeans and the Americans, they go to Dubai like it's the greatest shit ever. Really, it's a colonial idea. Look at this. Look, I got some more. I got some more, man. I'm trying to find my link, but I had the link to the Chechen. So the Chechen people are thinking about getting active, which is so random. So more countries are trying to get involved. We already got Northern Iraq that got involved last week. And now they talk about the Chechens. The Chechens. So like, you hear about all this chaos that's going on in Israel. I wonder why. They're freaking out. You got the mayors crying. They never dealt with so much bombardment. You know what I mean? They're not the generation of the founding colonizers. You know what I mean? The founding colonizers, they were crazy. That's why they were able to be so violent and steal so much land. You know what I mean? Not just what the United Nations gave them, So now here we are, present day, while this country is in collapse. Because it is a collapse, right? I would say. Now this is how as far as they go. Crazy, right? Crazy. We talked about it earlier in this show. They got the goddamn nerve to pass legislation targeting Palestinians for the death penalty indefinitely, exclusively identifying one race of people, one ethnic group. We are all one race, the human race, Homo sapiens. You know what I mean? The little Neanderthal. One ethnic group, bro. The Palestinian people. They just get crazier and crazier. They spiral into chaos. It's like chaos is their friend, dude. Chaos is their friend. You know, this is absolutely disgusting the time that we live in. People love to bring up, it's 2026. Nothing changed, bro. People keep repeating history. And what's ironic is that these are the people, plus black people in Germany, that were targeted, slaughtered. They said about 6 million from the Holocaust. But the Zionists don't care about the double standard. The Zionists wants to do to the Palestinians what Germany did to them. It's just, it's insane. It's insane. It's immoral. It's wrong. It's unacceptable. Why is this a thing? I want to hear about, it's 2026. Religion. This is what happens when religion is a part of the state. This has been going on for thousands of years. Whenever religion is a part of the state, they get crazy. They get crazy. They use the Bible to justify slavery, and they murdered black people. They use the Bible to justify manifest destiny, and they genocide and stole the land of indigenous people. The Crusades, choose your crusade. It was all the same thing. And the first people they targeted were Jewish people. You know what I mean? So it's like we keep repeating history, and their propaganda is folding. You do this while your propaganda is not the strongest. This is not 2010. This is not 2005. This is not 2003 when you got away with it, for occupying southern Lebanon for 20 years. Then you get kicked out. People still call Hezbollah a terrorist group. Still to this day, they call it Hezbollah, but that propaganda is dying too. Calling Hezbollah a terrorist group when they were only formed to fight. They're occupied. The Israelis. Matter of fact, let's have since we're talking about the UN, let's get a clip from Craig MacGyver here that I have for you. He's gonna break it down a lot more simpler than what I'm saying right now. There is no such thing as proxies under Iran. This is called the axis of resistance, and this is why it's called the axis of resistance. Pay attention.
West, that these are Iranian proxies that are somehow, causing havoc on behalf of Iran is absolute nonsense. What you're talking about is countries that have been subjected to external aggression, foreign occupation, colonial domination, racist regimes, systematic murder, that have, therefore, as is always the case in history, developed resistance groups that fight back as a deterrent, which is their right under international law. Hezbollah in Lebanon is a Lebanese group, born, bred, raised, and fighting for Lebanon, that did not exist before the serial aggression and occupation of Lebanon by the Israeli regime. Hamas is an indigenous Palestinian group, resistance group that did not exist before the 1980s and the atrocities, the serial atrocities perpetrated by the Israeli regime through occupation and colonization and systematic torture and extrajudicial executions and mass detention in dungeons all around the territory. But the idea that you can simply say they are proxies of another government, their alliance with Iran does not make them proxies. They're not fighting for Iran. They're fighting for Lebanon. They're fighting for Palestine. So as a matter of law, all of these, smoke and mirrors that are deployed by Western governments to pretend that the entity perpetrating occupation, colonization, apartheid, and genocide is the good guy, and that those resisting those crimes are somehow the bad guys. That may work in CNN and the BBC, but it doesn't work in international law, and I dare say it doesn't work in any kind of moral analysis of the situation.
Well, there you go. From the DC, UK. It's time. Where's my face? It's time to break the propaganda, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to repeat. It's time to stop believing in the old norms of believing in things that, I watched CNN or I watched Fox News for 20 minutes. And though they gave me no nuance on what's going on or what the issues are, they decided to just, I don't know, just take it as America is in there to save and give democracy. Israel apparently is the only democracy in the world, apparently, in the Middle East, excuse me. So they have elections in Lebanon. That is not democratic. They have elections in Iran. Oh, you didn't know that. Is that not democratic? What's not democratic to me? And yes, Israel has their elections. But what's not democratic to me? Let's first talk about how democratic Israel is. At 18, you have to apply for service. And if you don't, you are jailed. Is that democratic? Palestinians aren't allowed to hold. Majority of Palestinians do not have passports. And if they do, they get passports from Jordan, which was a thing from back in the day. A lot of them aren't Israeli citizens. A good few amount of them are. The ones that are still in the West Bank, Jerusalem, stuff like that. They are not allowed to marry. It's very shined upon to marry a Jewish person. Is that democratic? Kids, the only detention center that's known in the world that's harboring many children, legal detention center for throwing rocks. This is what these kids' crimes are, less than that. They're locked up indefinitely. They come out years later. They grow up in prison if they even come out. Is that democratic? The Gulf states that are friendly to America, the Gulf states have monarchies. They don't get to rule. No, excuse me, they don't get a democratic process. Every state that's a Gulf state that the United States controls, because they do control them, they have no sovereignty. They can't really act effectively defend themselves if they wanted to. So how is Israel the only democratic state in the country? I'm sorry, excuse me, in the Middle East? How? My opinion, I don't think it is. I will say that it's one of the most fascist. in the Middle East. Germany had elections, right? Oh man, I just feel drained at this point, ladies and gentlemen. I just feel so drained at this point because it's like, what is going to happen? What is the end game here? And how many more people are going to suffer? You know, we are definitely going to have a recession. I hear these billionaires got bunkers. I'm pretty sure there was something I heard about on the news recently about Donald Trump building a bunker in the White House. Will this end a nuclear war? Will this end in us working class people getting like France and just holding these politicians accountable? Like, and what does that say for Iran? Will Iran be nuked? And in retaliation, will Israel be nuked? Israel's a very small country. You don't really need a lot of nuclear warheads like you'll need Iran to effectively nuke them. You really don't. You know, and there are countries, like Pakistan has mentioned a few months ago, that if Israel was to strike Iran with a nuclear warhead, they would strike back. Yeah. These are dark times. Very dark times. I know I mentioned earlier that Abby Shock will be coming on. I don't think so, actually. Wait. But I have one more thing to share. This is a video that's getting a lot of attention that I post on my YouTube. And the comment section is going crazy. So I'm going to respond to a few of these comments because this issue is important. Here we have a situation where last week the UN decided to will bring the vote the resolution that slavery is the most inhumane thing that ever happened in mankind, basically. And it passed, plus the community reparations. But European states disdained, upstate, excuse me, and Israel, the US, and random Argentina voted no. Not surprised about America. Not surprised about Israel. Argentina, knowing their history, still surprised. But whatever. Let's talk about this. Then we look at the conversation. We'll respond.
That voted against the resolution was the United States. Were you disappointed by that vote?
So I would like to comment on the reasons they gave. They sought to create the impression that the time for negotiations have been short. The president of Ghana served notice last year in September. Immediately thereafter, we put together a broad-based coalition, including experts, academics, researchers, historians from all regions of the world. And we commenced negotiations. We allocated 3 hours, twice the time, and had multiple rounds of negotiations. So there are some that to us, it is clear that even if we gave them 50 years, they would say that the time is not enough. Secondly, the claim they have made that we are seeking to create a hierarchy of crimes. We have stated clearly that it is not about hierarchy. We are only speaking to a historical fact. Never in the history of mankind have we had such a systemic crime. We took over 3 centuries, more than 300 years, with its consequences still lingering onto this day, manifesting in racism, in structural inequality. What is fundamental, which nobody can deny, is that more than 12.5 million people were forcibly removed from the continent. More than 3 million people died, were tossed into the transatlantic ocean, which is a mass grave site. And in our country, Ghana, the country with the highest number of slave forts and castles. We are living witnesses on a daily basis when we go into those castles and forts and we see that.
I just want y'all to understand, slave castles, forts, highest rate in Ghana. That's where they literally was one of the main ports of where they shipped us off. I just want to repeat what he just said.
Door of no return. We break down.
One of the key reasons raised by the United States for which reason they are abstaining is the lack of clarity on who is the recipient of the reparatory justice. What is your response to that?
It's surprising. In this resolution, talked about frameworks which you put in place that will take care of the consequences, the lack of opportunity, discrimination, the degradation of people of color. And we have made clear that African leaders or Caribbean leaders are not looking for money. It goes against our conscience to seek to profit from this. We are talking about courses to deal with the structural inequalities. And we are also talking about the return of artifacts. There are thousands of artifacts from Egypt all the way to the Ashanti Kingdom in Ghana. Again, it is totally wrong for a claim to be made that there is no clarity about.
Why there's artifacts? Because not only did they steal black people, but they raped the land of resources. Still to this day, they drew up fake ass borders, the Europeans did, which created border disputes between warring tribes. They sold countries off like they were companies, sold them off. Nigeria was purchased by the UK. You know, like the history on how Africa has become destabilized after chattel slavery hasn't fully been told in Europe and hasn't fully been told in the United States like it should be. They took advantage. They colonized. They killed millions of people, forced them to speak French, English, German, Italian, Spanish. Similar to what they did to Latin America. Very similar. And just now, Africa is gaining their voice and building their freedom. Finally, becoming sovereign. We talk about this all the time in the show. You know what I mean? The time of colonialism is dying. And this is one of the signs. Finish the video off. Then we continue.
Who benefits from reparatory justice?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's the video. Now let me back up here. No, we do not want to go to Afro Man. Shouts out to Afro Man. I love Afro Man, by the way. I feel like he's doing the Lord's work with the whole cop shit. That was so funny. All right, sorry, computer's being a little slow. Oh my god, it's trying to go to everything but the vid. This is what I go through. I'm glad that y'all are witnessing this. Anyway, let's get to the comment section. I'm gonna put the comment section up and I'm gonna read the comments that pissed me off. And like I respect people's opinion. I'm not gonna read the comments that white people gave because they have no opinion in this matter. And y'all can get mad at me if you want to, if you disagree that they should be part of dialogue. No, they should not. I don't care. They should not. I don't care. But I'm going to get into the comment section part that intrigued me. And I was very, very shocked a little bit from black folks. That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what I was shocked about with black folks. Okay, my fellow black people. All right, let me see. This one right here is the top of the cream right here, man. All right. Let me get it out. I'm using my phone, like I said, because I do not want to read off this bright ass screen. I'm gonna use my phone. Okay, here we go. So this guy, as you can see, his name, no face. Only reason why I'm assuming he's black because he said he's black. All right, so his name is Ralik. I believe it's Ralik. It's not Ralik. If you see this video, I apologize for saying your name incorrectly because I hate saying black people's name incorrectly. I really do. They taught me to read and pronounce European names so much more effectively than our own people. So I apologize. All right. Everyone is up in arms about the U.S. and Israel voting no, while not telling the whole story, leaving out the fact that dozens of countries decided to stay neutral. I brought that up in the video and in the description as well too. But people like to generalize a lot instead of just looking at who is reporting this, who is putting this video together, what kind of channel they are, and how and what kind of message they are bringing. If he knew exactly what's going on, he'll do two things. He'll give me some respect and understand where I'm coming from, or he'll just clown me like other Uncle Toms do. And all right, so here we go. Where I left off at. Okay, leaving that out for the purpose of agenda. What agenda? I love how people use the term agenda a lot, but when you ask them what is the agenda, they don't articulate it properly. But whatever. As a foundational black man, I don't know why you gotta put foundational, my brother, veteran and conservative Republican, I don't accept this farce that is being used to capture the minds of people who don't know any better. We will fight our own fight here that has failed. None of you wanted to fight for us before, so don't try to act like you're doing it for us now. It is self-serving. All right, so as you can tell, that was a very vexful comment that I did not appreciate. I had no response for him. I was just like, yo, you feel that way? Cool. So I put the in reply. Let me see if I get it up. I don't want to spend too much time on this segment, but I think this is important to get across because it's important. This thread pissed me off, but whatever. So okay, I put the board. Why? Because I hear the same old shit from these Uncle Tom motherfuckers all the time. And then I put the okay laughing emoji. I had this conversation a lot. And I'm at the point where it goes to like, okay, you are either for it or you're going to start saying some wild shit that you don't fully understand or read about. And you're going in your ignorance because people told you that reparations isn't a problem. We shouldn't have it. Well, Japan and the Jewish people were actually giving reparations. So I don't understand, why people just can't read and learn that reparations has happened before. So it can happen again. And not even just reparations of giving money, because we all know that money will go back into the economy. You know what I mean? Because we're going to be buying property, houses. We're going to be establishing generational wealth, life. You know what I mean? We're going to try. Like how the Jewish community is doing. You know what I mean? How the Japanese community is doing. You know what I mean? So like here we are. Punching ourselves down, and I gave a response. That clearly wasn't liked because somebody else responded and they said, your response to this comment makes you look childish. Okay, I guess, but you don't know me like that. If you choose to respond, then respond with some intelligence and articulate blah, 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 blah. Shut up, bro. I hate when people, you know, they look for a response, and when you don't give them what they want, they got the nerve to say something. I said what I said, bro. It's that simple. You like, I'm not gonna be sitting here. Here's my thing. I don't like arguing with people online. You know what I mean? My information, if this brother really, really want to have a dialogue instead of going on this self-serving nonsense, I guess he's accusing Ghana of being self-serving, but I just explained how African countries suffered tremendously since chattel slavery started. You know what I mean? They got fucked over, the ones that stayed, very harsh. To this day, bro, it's bad how colonialism has destroyed that continent. All right. So it's not self-serving. All right. It's about seeking retribution. You know what I mean? While Europe is declining and America is declining in their power influence, we have voices that have not been heard for centuries, my brother. And you got the goddamn nerve to tell me that this African nation is self-serving because they are looking for acknowledgement of the pain that the black diaspora has went through, the freemen, the ancestors that was sent on those boats for slavery. My name is I changed my name to Jamar Jabari because Farmer is my slave name, my nigga. Farmer is my slave name. But you want to sit here, oh, I am a foundational Black American veteran conservative. Blah, blah, blah. That tells me that you didn't take time to read about how this system itself pushed everything they can not to just kill us off when they didn't need us anymore, displace us. We had the Reconstruction era right after slavery, and the lily whites in the Republican Party and the KKK founding members in the Southern Democratic Party, they did everything they can to push the outrage so there be no reconstruction. So they got rid of politicians that were black, that historically made it in the office and passed great legislation. They did everything they can. There was race riots after race riots. Tulsa wasn't the only race riot, my brother. They kept doing that. Jim Crow was almost 100 years after Reconstruction era was demolished by the South. So don't sit here and try to tell me that when a black nation who our ancestors most likely came from, because it was Eastern Africa where they all mostly came from. So Nigeria, Ghana, all those, that's where we're mostly from. When you check our DNA, they take the initiative to push the conversation of retribution, for accountability, reparations for the black diaspora, the descendants of slavery diaspora. You want to call them self-serving? My nigga, please. Please. And look. We got one brother with some common sense. Look what he says in response. As an African American and a veteran as well, too, an independent, I believe your logic is very short-sighted. Agree. It sounds as though you are so used to your oppression that you would kiss the man who beats you. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's a master statement right there. I agree. I wasn't going to say it, but he said it, so I agree. A stronger Southern Hemisphere, excuse me, let me get this out there. A stronger Southern Hemisphere empowers us all. I agree. We're talking about the global South right now, baby. I pray for the day that I can go back to my ancestral home and help to make it prosper. There is a reason that the West European / Americans fear the Latin and African prosperity. I forgive you. I just hope that you stop fighting against us. There you go. And of course he responds, and then, you know, I say my 2 cents about how he came on here. You know what I mean? Like, look, people, listen, man. Not everybody deserves a reply, and especially not from me, because there's other like-minded individuals that are just more educated than I am, by the way, that can reply to this nonsense. Because that's all it was. It was nonsense. You be the first one to deny what is owed to you. It's not a handout, my ninja. It was owed to you. Why? Because your ancestors fucking built this nation. And I swear to God, you hear all these other ethnic groups that talk about a similar plight that we went through. You think these niggas going around saying, oh, but we don't need no fucking reparations? Dismiss me with your fucking bullshit. And yes, do we need to build a movement where the black diaspora in each country that had slavery start organizing for reparations? Yes. Yes. We could do that along with the help and the camaraderie of our ancestral land, Mother Africa. Okay? So when Mother Africa comes in and helps out, there ain't no fucking division because we from there, my nigga. The hell going on with y'all? Anyway, that's how I felt. You know what I mean? Sorry about Abby Shot. I actually spoke to her. She will be on next episode. There was a miscommunication. Everything's fine. It's my homegirl. So we'll be back with Abby Shot. So please stay tuned. Stay tuned. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that fucking like button. Donate to my Cash App, Jabari Media, no space. All Jabari Media, no space. You know, and I will see you lovelies later.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?